All right, everybody, we are back here with the third game of the Netrunner Worlds Finals. And if you've been watching the previous two games, this is more or less the grand conclusion. It's been a really wild set of games with some good plays and just excellent stuff on both sides. Let's just go ahead and get right into it here. I'm joined, of course, by Robert.
Hey, folks.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right.
Surprisingly.
Excited for Netrunner. It's a big game. So as you notice, the HB over here has iced up two things, R&D and HQ, and put down a remote server there, likely a pad campaign or something like that. Our runner over here, the criminal on the left, has played a sure gamble and played out Desperado, which is the infamous criminal console. You get 1 credit every time you make a successful run.
That card's a moneymaker. Watch
and
out.
Look at the really nice nice card over there.
Karate chop run coming through.
Toll booth on R&D. So he's not going to be able to res that. Free run on R&D there. It looks like he's revealing an Enigma. So he knows that's coming up. Next piece of ice, you got to run a little more carefully because you've got to watch out for those actions going away.
Now, this is something interesting that I always am thinking about in my head is, do you put down some of these high-cost mid to late game ices early on and really know that they're not going to do anything for you just to get them out of your hand or to deter possible runs, this kind of a thing? It's a weird exchange that goes on between what you think that you need to do. Oh man, resin that Ichi.
Reses Ichi, which isn't really going to do much for him right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that. Unless, because it's crazy. There's no programs to trash unless Desperado. That's hardware, isn't it? It's console, right?
Yeah, it's console. You can't do it. So he's got to trace 1, try to give the runner a tag and do a brain damage, which he is not going to get off here.
Nope.
Criminal has too many credits. He just beat the trace. And he's going to come right through.
That's right. So, I always like doing what we call around Tulsa, the surprise Ichi, which is waiting until they least expect it.
Yeah, there we go. I was wondering. I saw him drawing that card. It's like, no, you gotta look at your hand here.
Yeah, right.
And that one.
This one. I
it's
choose
pad
you.
Campaign.
Will it be trashed?
Nope.
No.
In the elder days of Netrunner, pad campaigns really weren't trashed. And still aren't by a lot of players. A lot of players don't like to trash them. It's just a slow trickle. They don't feel very concerned about it.
And even so, trashing it out of the hand is probably the weakest way to do it.
Absolutely.
Because they don't get to waste a click by putting it out or even 1 to res it and all that kind of a thing.
HB throwing another ice on HQ and then gaining 2 credits for the turn. You could only think that's an Enigma, right?
I would imagine, but more importantly and this is just the way I play, I feel bad for that Ichi because it's so non-threatening now for the rest of the game.
It's not going to do much.
No. So at least that's I have not seen this game. We'll see another karate chop run going on here.
Back to R&D.
Run.
If you can't res it the first time, probably can't res it the second time.
That's correct.
Ooh, big priority reg.
Wow,
that's
3
huge.
points right off the bat. Who saw that coming? Not this guy.
Oh,
another karate chop
we're gonna
run.
hit there again.
Oh man, can you imagine if there were 2 agendas back to back?
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Oh, he gives him the fake grab.
The fake grab.
That's a classic mind game too.
Yeah, it's classic psychological warfare at its finest. Do it as often as you can, but when your corp player lashes out at you in a fit of anger because you're toying with them, don't be surprised.
And don't be surprised or scared.
Karate chop run.
Let's see that.
Oh, it's a pad.
It's what you thought it was. And successful run gets a credit off Desperado.
That's right.
So it's not bad to take a peek. You may as well do that rather than just take a credit.
And the inequality in credits right now is very glaring. The criminals with 12, HB with 3. That's really what I am focused on right now because the criminals can do just pretty much anything they want with such an early lead, and leaving even a harmless remote up like that where they can just run and get credits, it's crazy.
Be ready for bank job too here.
That's right.
More importantly. So we're going to res that pad campaign, get 1 off of it, and draw into whatever we just saw. Throw another pad campaign down, I imagine. Gains a credit for installing a card as per the identity. Installs another one over R&D and gains a credit. So now it's a question of where is the Enigma?
That's right.
And perhaps there's 2, but you gotta wonder.
Perhaps there's 2. But what's really problematic right now for our HB player is that they are sitting on so few credits that they can only res 1 piece of ice. And with Ichi already up, and you know what it's going to do, and you can prepare for it, then you can just click through it or anything like that. So I would not feel very comfortable if I were this HB player right now.
It's tough.
It's a precarious position.
It's tough. You've got to either, give up HQ or give up R&D likely this turn. We'll see if Criminal over here makes the move and makes that choice an actual choice rather than a theoretical.
That's right. Now, I would also say that this is the most ideal time to run and trash that pad campaign, because he spent his click to install it. He's -1 to res it in terms of credits. So right now you are only at a net loss. Was it 4 to trash? Can't remember.
Yeah, 4
to trash. So you're only losing 3, but unless you're expecting to win within a few turns, then you're totally going to reap the benefits of making that early investment and trashing it.
Absolutely. I do enjoy trashing those pad campaigns, even though sometimes it's just very hard.
Well, you're the Wiz.
Oh, sometimes.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
The Wiz is a trash master.
That could be taken a number of ways. All right.
We didn't have the Wiz back then, though.
That's true.
Yogg. He's
yogging around.
Yogg's going to make that Ichi a lot different now.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be an interesting play. He's expecting the Enigma, and he's going for it. Ooh. He's just going to have to click through that Ichi, I imagine.
That's right.
Not going to res the Enigma. Obviously, it breaks for free on Yogg.
Smart move, which is another thing that is awesome about Anarchs, is that Icebreaker is so good. I love it. You can't boost it.
Can't boost it,
but it's free to break.
Yeah. And so he's going to go through HQ. I'm guessing that he spent the clicks to get through there.
Yes.
Ichi is a sentry, so that's about all he can do.
Boom!
Oh, man.
Man, that is a pull if there ever was one. It was decisive, too. Slammed it down and everything. So, bam, another pad campaign on the res, which means that it essentially pays for itself with the other one. So no net loss.
Correct. Cards all over. Hands all over the cards, too.
That's right. Pointing and pulling cards. It's amazing. Now, one of the things to think about as you're watching this is, if you're a runner in your local meta, how is it that you declare through body language that you're running in a certain place? We've seen our Criminal here doing the Ginsu Chop Run, which is a classic, one of my personal favorites, honestly. What do you like to do, Steve?
It's the chop is a standard. It's kind of the traditional, I think. Actually, this series of games has led to the chop maybe being a more common declaration. I personally, I like to point sometimes, or even just a non-physical vocal declaration can be a nice change of pace, especially for the corp, where they don't have to deal with your physical shenanigans. They can just realize that you're running HQ, just declare it, and then because you're so good and so cool, you don't even need to point. Everybody knows what's happening.
It's very gentlemanly of you.
And be sure to, when you do that, be sure to say the right term. Don't run the hand, run HQ.
Yes.
I also am a fan of whenever you're tracking clicks with tokens, usually putting tokens where you're spending your clicks, setting that token in front of whatever server you're running is nice. We see the Criminal player here drawing a card for the second action.
That's right.
Staying at a hardy 9 credits. This is a good place to stay. He's not having to spend hardly any credits making these runs, and that's helping out a lot.
That's right. And I can only imagine what fantastic pieces of ice might have been popped with the priority rec, because that is still one of my favorite agendas, just because bringing out some of these more expensive pieces of HB ice, or even that toll booth that we already saw, would be fantastic right now.
Absolutely. He's got to get a remote going before he can do any of that, though.
Uh-oh. What are we doing here?
Got to be Forge or Infiltration. Okay.
Yep. But a Forge wouldn't be bad either.
Well, he could follow it up here with a Forge.
It's true. Which would be devastating. Just losing a toll booth is awful.
This at this stage of the game, this is the core set, so those toll booths are like the pinnacle of your deck.
Yep. I still regard it as one of the finest, if not the finest, piece of ice in the game right now. It's just so effective.
Especially, you've seen him now drop Yogg. Yogg cannot get through a toll booth, so he's going to have to replace his Yogg or install an additional code gate breaker just to get through a toll booth. So
back then, I guess the only real option was a Ninja.
Not Ninja, the Gordian Blade, which I think the Criminal might have.
Yeah.
No res.
Roto on the top of R&D.
Roto turret, always a bit of a scary, especially in this kind of an instance. It's a very scary piece of ice. no breaker for it, and it's just gonna trash that Yogg.
That's right.
And then in the run on top of that. Install remote and gain a couple of credits there.
See, this is where you really have to just simply look at the math now in those pad campaigns. An early investment now would have made this HB player poor as bananas. I don't know how poor Banana can actually be, but
very poor.
They generally don't have a lot of money.
Very poor.
So anyway, if you're in a meta, and this is just my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Think about trashing those pad campaigns. If they're especially left open like this with no ice protecting them, they're just sitting ducks.
Everyone has tools now to do that. In the Netrunner, as we know it, we have Anarch's the best at it with Imp and Wizard being able to really tear down those kinds of assets. But other houses can do it just as well. I mean, Shapers, you have so much money anyway. You may as well just opus up a few times and get those pad campaigns out of there.
That's true.
Criminal might have the hardest time, but you don't know.
You never know. Worth thinking about, though.
Worth thinking about. We got a Adonis campaign popping up down here.
Oh man!
I think they were discussing potentially what could be in that hand.
That's right. How much more money can you earn? Pad campaigns, Adonis campaigns. We can campaign our ways to the moon. That's gonna be great. So now you're thinking, what do I want to do?
Both players at 10 credits. Criminal has gotten off to a supreme lead here. Those two agendas, so he can really play it quite safe.
But he knows he can't run R&D now because he's at the 8 credit threshold to raise that toll booth, and he just doesn't have the strength to get through. More importantly, he doesn't want to lose his 3 credits.
Absolutely. Special order for what I can only think is a ninja. No, Fem.
Ooh, Fem, nice.
He's going to try to go straight in for that toll booth. I definitely would have gone for Ninja here, knowing that the roto turret can be in play. Knowing that Ichi can now be broken, all these things are very important to me as a runner.
But even with Femme Fatale, even though he can punch through the end the run, he's still going to have to pay 3 credits.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Runs into it. So maybe he's not running Sentry, but maybe he has some other idea up his sleeve. We'll see.
Now there was an old it's a kind of a weird encountering rule with toll booths and things of that nature, as far as whether you actually have to pay those 3 credits or not. I think it's been rolled a few different ways over the course of the game.
Nice.
Yeah. At this point, you do, I believe, but I think it may have been different
back in the day
during this course. Yeah, it was always a very kind of contentious topic. So we'll see how it's played out here. Keep in mind, this is what I think like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, this was very late at night.
It's been Netrunner all day for these guys, so this has been a journey.
That's right. So for those of you who would like to compete in any major tournament for Netrunner,
you got to chop.
Come prepared.
Already.
Ginsu chop, but come prepared for a long day of net running. Pack like 13 5-hour energies. I don't know how many hours worth of energy that actually is, but it's a lot. So boom.
Right. Toll booth comes up.
Toll booth up.
And the runner's doing this just to maybe drain some credits here.
Yep.
And so that he can actually have a read on what's going on, maybe play that Fem out and declare that toll booth.
So that's interesting. So
and
there it is. Boom. Tiger blood.
A very interesting play for me. I think in that instance I would have held off. The Femme Fatale, if it's not going to do you any good that turn, just hold off until the next round when you're actually making your runs, and use the ability and then run, rather than use the ability. Now he can plan for it, and there he goes, icing up the 3rd ring of R&D.
Yep. And I really wish I had I'm going to browbeat it to the ends of the earth, but if I had been keeping tally of how much money has been earned through those pad campaigns, the difference, he probably couldn't have rezzed that toll booth. I mean, it just goes on and on.
It gets silly.
It gets real silly. So, anywho, but we're now up to 3 pieces of ice over R&D, which is when it starts to get real serious. When you hit 4, you know it's serious. When it gets to 5, serious. You just need to, I don't know, go to Club Med or something. Else. Yeah, Club Med.
Go somewhere else.
Or
go to HQ. Or just save up and make a big run on the remote.
Yeah, because I usually think I can either go to HQ or Club Med is my line of thinking.
There's not a lot of agendas in Club Med, is there?
I don't know, man.
Criminal drawing a card.
It's a vacation spot for a reason, right?
Do runners go on vacation? I guess Wildside is kind of a vacation. It's kind of a nightly vacation.
Yeah, nightly, which
from responsibility.
You don't have to book a flight, reserve a hotel room. It's way more convenient.
All right, so pulling up now, we're actually taking a look at the deck list of the HB player. I'm running some Archer, some Enigma, Heimdall, Ice Wall, Ichi, Rototurret, Tollbooth, Victor, and Wall of Static. So pretty decent suite of ice, 21 pieces, pretty standard. Adonis, Aggressive Secretary, Pad Campaign, Junebug, and Snare. Now all the red dots we have seen already in play, so this is what the runner knows. We've got 1 experiential data, 3 biotic labor, 3 hedge funds, 3 beta tests, 3 security force, and 3 priority recs. Pretty standard. Going over to the criminal, we've got splashing a couple of corroders, a Yogg, so a lot of Anarch breakers, 1 ninja, 2 femme fatales, a sneak door beta, which can be interesting, 3 parasites and 3 data suckers on the splash, 3 desperados, already got 1 out, a couple of bank jobs, crash space, armitage, and then sure gamble, infiltration, easy mark, count 7 inside jobs, special order, forge, and a stim hack. And you'll notice that this is a pretty classic criminal suite, heavy on the events. Because you really just, as criminals,
you want to manipulate.
Like I said, I've said it before, but it's been told to me that a good criminal deck will never play an icebreaker.
Ah, nice. That's interesting. I had not heard that, but that makes a lot of sense now that it's been said. Yeah,
and it's it's a bit hyperbolic, but the idea is there.
So now we are waiting. Ah, easy mark.
There we go. Easy mark. That's gonna help pull criminal out from the 1 credit morass.
Yes.
We're going back over to the corp, draw because he's got 2 and gains 2, so already back up to 7.
It's crazy, man. The criminal is paying 2 actions, 1 to draw, 1 to play, to gain 3 credits, and then meantime HB is getting 2 credits for free. Every turn.
Back to 8.
It's crazy. Pad campaigns. Woo! Love them. So now, what will he do? Unless there's a Heimdall on that R&D, I don't know what I would think about running there. But who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? That's what I would want, though. A nice, strong barrier.
HB sitting at 9 credits, which is pretty fantastic. And then Criminal over here sitting at 4, it looks like. We've got a Yogg and a Femme Fatale in play, so we can break sentries and 3 strength or less code gates. What Criminal really wants here, or wanted earlier, I think, is a data sucker. So we'll take a look. Forge activation orders. It's coming onto the table here. Top card. And it is a Rototurret.
Nice. That's a great play right now. A fantastic play, even.
Absolutely. Fem can break it, no problem.
She can, but will she want to?
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, she's trashed.
Okay, it's like, here we go.
It's like,
yeah, we got to bypass it.
That is a toll booth.
But you got to pay the 3, but we just bypass it. But if we point, you'll see. Can we get a judge over here?
Yes.
Judge.
So now they're going to hash it out. But I would totally break at least the trash and then probably just jack out, because then at that point, if you break both, you won't have the money to break through the toll booth.
Yeah, and that's what's being talked about. So we got some fist pumping going on. So which hand is something in?
Which one has the quarter in it? Or is it a marble? I don't know what the magicians use these days.
I don't know.
So now, Karate Chop Run on R&D yet again.
Pay for the Rototurret?
I'm assuming.
And then pay 1 to, looks like, bypass the toll booth. So yeah, you don't have to pay the 3.
Nice.
Way to go, Criminal. 1 back for a successful run. And looks like another Rototurret on top of R&D. Not a good piece of ice to be seen at this point.
Nope.
Femme Fatale is easily doing the job of getting through those guys.
Yeah, if that Femme Fatale ever gets trashed, it's going to be a nightmare for a Criminal. But man, that's super interesting that when you access the toll booth that you don't have to pay the 3.
I wonder, I've heard it so many times the other way. So, but I think the way that it's ruled now is that the runner, as the active player, whenever there's encountering triggers, basically, they decide the order in which those encountering triggers resolve. And so you have one that says when you encounter toll booth, pay 1 to bypass it, and one that says when you encounter toll booth, pay 3. the runner would choose to encounter the toll booth and pay 1 first, therefore bypassing the ice, therefore not hitting the second encounter trigger.
Interesting. And but you were also saying earlier that might not be the case anymore?
I almost am certain it's been ruled both ways at some point in this game's history. Don't quote me on that, but maybe it was just in our local group where we were determining this way or that way. But I do believe now and forevermore that bypassing the ice in that way is going to not cause you to force those encounter triggers.
Interesting. That's awesome. Makes Femme Fatale just awesome.
Yeah, definitely good, and good answer for toll booth. So a ruling definitely to look up though before regionals and whatnot. Yep. I don't have the ruling on me, but that's how we've been playing it in Tulsa at least.
Mm-hmm. So now we are back to, I guess the criminals are running now. Or it's their turn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got a card draw.
But what will they do?
R&D is at the 4 ice ridiculous limit.
It's serious now. You know it's serious.
It's serious.
It's time to go to Club Med.
You assume
that
the HB here is saying, I don't have any agendas in my hand.
Correct.
But I sure as heck would be looking.
Mm-hmm. Because it's certainly just more cost effective.
Sneak door. Exactly what you
Boom.
want right there.
Run.
Exactly. Nice chop. And it looks like he indeed does not have any agendas in that hand.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any.
It's going to be a fruitless run. This could be the game, though.
Which one? Which one do you want?
Could be the game. And you notice that HB here is a little lackadaisical with... Oh, man.
Snare.
Hello.
He was not ready for that.
He was
No one's
so
ever ready for snare.
But you'll notice that was his last click.
It was.
Which is kind of scary.
Especially against HB.
In case HB is splashing Scorched Earth or something.
But now he's sitting on that tag.
Exactly.
Which is even worse. Hope he doesn't have any resources.
He doesn't.
Good.
But if HB was splashing Scorched Earth or something, this would be devastating.
The end.
Devastating time. We know that he's not.
We know, yes. But
you know.
Who knows that we know? Or who doesn't know that we know?
All right, so back over to the runner here.
Drawing some cards. Drawing plenty, because you got to get your hand back up. Now that you know that snare's in play, it's like, oh, whoa. This is crazy. I have to have like as many cards as possible at all times.
Absolutely, and I think that was known from the earlier 2 games. Having played against this HB before, I think he probably knew that snares were around, but
yeah,
he's always kept a pretty ample hand there. Little mic coming into the shot. Is that a mic?
Could have been a mosquito. Who knows? All right, so we have 1 to go. What's going to be?
Going.
What's going to be? Are we going to Ginsu Chop? Okay.
Hey, look at this camera. That's an account siphon.
Yeah, it is an account siphon.
Thanks for letting us know. Now we can pull it up. It's a great thing, and probably asking if you can use that with Sneak Door, which you cannot. Given that both cards, part of the effect of using that card is the actual run itself, so you can't sandwich those effects on each other.
But what a delicious sandwich that would be.
It would be an unbelievably good sandwich.
Yeah.
In the sense that you probably would only see that sandwich.
That's right.
In the game.
Freshly baked bread and everything. That's great. So now...
Hey, it's a roto turret.
Made a run on R&D, or excuse me, HQ.
Imagine use the Sneak Door over there.
Uh-huh. Classic. Got to bypass that Ichi. You don't want that. So now, it is the HB turn. He's looking at some ice. Did
looks
that
like
look
an archer.
Yeah.
That looked like an archer to me, yeah.
And then a static just beyond it on row 2.
Now, archer's actually going to be a really good piece of ice, even though Fim can break it. Fim starting at such a low strength. You're going to have to pay a lot to get up there and break through those subroutines.
That's right. But even worse is he can't even res it because he lacks an agenda to sack.
Can't do it.
And worse yet is that he has only expensive agendas worth 2 or 3 points each. So that's quite a sacrifice to make your archer work.
Absolutely. I don't even know if I'd res it at this point, but there we go.
Yep.
Getting a card down there, and I'm going to take a guess that this is an Adonis campaign.
It's true. I would probably guess that, but he has plenty of credits. But the good news is, on that server, he does have a wall of static, and there's no barrier breaker in play yet. So it's pretty safe for the time being.
Pretty safe. He's got 9 credits over there on the HB side of things.
Now, of course, he can always bypass it and do any number of things. like criminals do. You just can't trust them.
And this is where things get a little bit weird. If there's another toll booth down there on that remote server, then you're stuck.
That's right.
You can't do it. If there's not, then you're probably okay. But can you risk the run at this point?
That's a good question, because when you only have 6 credits, I mean, it's going to take a lot of energy to get back up to a point where you're comfortable with the amount of credits you have to make a run, to pump ice, to break through it, all this kind of a thing. So 6 is right on the borderline for me.
And needing only 2 more points as the runner, I think you can play pretty conservatively.
Yep.
And make it happen. So again, we're looking at the HB deck over here, and we do know that there's 2 archers in play, so that's something to be aware of. We've seen each use only 1 ice wall and 3 walls of static. So some good ice here, definitely some good ice, and a couple of aggressive secretaries, which we can't worry too much about on that remote because it's not advanced, not going to do much, but an aggressive secretary trap here would be a big deal. And knowing that priority rec is in there, even that security force is in there, it's a big deal to be able to have something with 2 advancement counters on it. Looks like an agenda, and yet.
And yet.
Also, then the criminal has bank jobs that we haven't seen yet, and Armitage. So
yeah.
He's got a lot of economy that's not coming out.
That's true.
And I imagine he's going to have to shake that tag before he plays any Armitage for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he's holding them, maybe he's not.
He's poor now, but just you wait.
And a count siphon. So he's got,
yeah,
you know, he has the
count
count siphon in his hand. But he's going to have to get through HQ the hard way, which is the standard way.
Mm-hmm.
All he has to do is break through that Ichi. We know that's an Enigma at the top there. So he's got a free run on that account siphon, more or less.
Yep.
He could use all his clicks to do it. Would take this corp down by 5 and gain him up 10 credits. That would be exceptional. And then he can maybe even make a run on that remote. He's going to go straight back to R&D. Trying to close out this game here. Maybe a little too eager to get that last agenda.
Yeah,
maybe should be a little bit more conservative here.
But, you know, when it's within reach, you know, you might want to think to yourself that, hey, I can finish this off now, be done with it, and he'll never have a chance.
And another snare.
A snare, wow.
Not what he wanted.
Not at all what you want, because now there's 2 tags that you have to deal with.
2 tags, and he loses a big account siphon and a few other cards.
Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Not happy. Body language says not happy.
Yeah, that just sucks. But now you immediately have to start drawing back up.
Looks like he drew a count siphon. From what we could tell, pulled it up there.
But the good news is there's only 1 more snare to go through, and then you're home free. You can run all you want.
Yeah. I guess that's the bonus of hitting snares.
That's right.
That you will not hit them again in the future.
That's right. Oh, man. All right, so
let's
now
take a look at your HQ
door.
area.
Hitting the snare.
Here you go. Here's my hand.
Boom.
Body language saying, I don't have anything in there. I don't care.
A Heimdall?
Heimdall, yeah.
Heimdall. Our favorite
Let's read it.
Viking-themed ice.
Absolutely. Got a big V on the belt there.
That's right. V for Viking. So now...
Gaining 2 more credits off that pad campaign.
Yeah.
Back on the corpse turn.
It's crazy. Pad campaign. It's making this game work for HB right now. It's amazing.
Finding that last agenda is really turning into a tricky thing.
Right. So now we've seen this card played down on that one remote server. I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's a trap just with the manner that he just developed it with just 1. It's kind of interesting.
Could be a private security force.
It could very well be, and that's true, and he can just score it in full next turn. And he'll still have enough to res a wall of static as needed.
Something to keep in mind here, too, is if he does score a private security force and criminal doesn't shake those tags, it's going to be a very interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider. You've got to wonder, I mean, if he straight up scores it next turn, then you have to shake those tags, or else you're going to be taking probably 3 damage every single turn, and it's just hard to keep up with that.
What would be interesting is if he goes kind of the long develop route, takes the long road, and then he scores it on his first action, then has 2, depending on what the runner's hand size looks like, to start going ahead and doing damage on those extra clicks.
Yeah.
Could be terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But we'll see. But that's 2 actions and at least 4 credits once it is scored that the runner will more or less immediately have to spend in order to make himself safe again and ready for business. Which in and of itself is quite the treat for HB right now.
Absolutely. A lot to consider here.
Yeah, there's so much going on. It's such a great little game. Let it be said officially.
I think you can keep trying at R&D here.
Yeah.
If you're not going to save up and try to tear down any remotes, then you may as well just keep mining, keep fishing.
Yep. Especially if you can just pay 2 to get through that roto and another one for Old Toll Booth. It's a pretty cheap run.
Yeah. Get 1 back for Desperado.
That's right.
You can always sneak door the hand for a couple of credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes. Here comes
That's what we're
R&D.
doing. Not gonna res?
No resi. And that's another thing that's comfortable for the runner right now is that the Corp has been in this position where they have this many credits.
Ooh, the old high pole.
They haven't rezzed any new ice. What is that?
Looks like a victor to me.
Yeah. But
Pulling it up.
They haven't rezzed any of those other pieces of ice, so you can feel somewhat comfortable that they aren't going to this time. So it's just like, well, that's a guaranteed expense to get down there. It just cost me a net of 2.
Yeah.
And I get to look at a card.
You got to be wondering, though, if that's maybe an archer sitting there that they can't quite res yet, or maybe it's just an enigma that means nothing.
It's true.
So things to consider for sure.
What's the most curious to me, though, is that 4th piece of ice over R&D, because he's not resing it, but he spent 3 to put it there.
Yeah, obviously has the credits to res anything in his ice brigade right now.
Yep.
Maybe he just doesn't want to, because there's a good tactic here. If, let's say, that's a toll booth or a Heimdall over there in R&D, he spends all 8 to res it. Now the runner has a free look at that remote server with 1 advancement, because he's not going to be able to res any ice on that server anymore. So he may be waiting and hoping that that remote server is going to become unprotected by resing some of this R&D ice. But
sure.
HB can't take that chance, it looks like, or it just could be worthless ice. We don't quite know.
It's true. You never know. You never know. It's another roto turret. Enjoy.
You gotta assume that there's a toll booth over there on that remote.
I would definitely
He's sitting
assume
at
that.
8. It's got to be something that, or even a Heimdall.
Yeah, there's got to be a fatty waiting somewhere just to surprise you and make your day awful. So last click, draw a card.
Okay.
So back over to HB, 2 creds automatic with those 2 pad campaigns. Yet again, underscoring how critical those have been for this HP player this game. If they hadn't been there, if they hadn't
been there.
Can you imagine? Imagine that.
I can imagine.
Dear listeners and viewers, imagine that. It would be
looks like it is
dramatically
a
different.
force.
Yep. First, agenda.
Got one off. Nice.
Now, this means a couple of things. So immediately those tags on the criminal side are going to become a liability. Wants to get rid of those probably ASAP, or certainly at least before he runs any resources. But additionally, now HB has an agenda to trash if they want to res an archer for cheap.
Yep.
So things just got a lot more interesting.
It would hurt.
It would hurt. That's 2
flip
points.
Your one agenda.
Woo. Woo-wee. But Archer is so powerful. Those 4 subroutines, low cost to res, high strength. That femme fatale would have its work cut out for it to try to break through all that.
You just got to try to catch the criminal when their credits do not allow them to break the archer.
That's right.
And then your world becomes great. You get rid of that femme fatale, you
Yep.
get rid of that sneak door. Data sucker is going to be a big deal here.
It is a big deal.
Especially with sneak door being so wide open for central servers. And that's what he's going to do.
That's right. So, boom. Data sucker got a counter. And there's old Heimdall again. Looking pretty.
Shake a tag. And I imagine he'll shake the other one. Yep.
Yep.
Smart play here.
Shake both of those tags. They are now a liability. Get rid of it. Again, another 2 free credits. And a card. What will it be? Ooh, it's a hedge fund.
Ooh, big deal.
Pro. That really opens things up for the HP player. They have plenty of credits to potentially res on multiple fronts now. New ice.
You got to assume the Heimdall going down.
Just got a 14th credit for his first install. And that is a lot of money. And then credit, looks like. No, just one credit, excuse me.
Just the one, yeah.
Because, yeah, hedge fund and the install. That's 2 actions. And you only get 3.
You only get 3.
Unless you get that mandatory upgrades.
Maybe he's splashing future agendas.
Yeah, that's right.
Back over to the criminal here. So things got a little bit weirder. You kind of see the door closing at this point.
Because this ice is no longer up to snuff.
You just need 2 points. Any agenda will cut it. You had pretty decent odds.
Excuse me, the icebreakers.
Of seeing one at some point. But now Sneak Door, you imagine is Heimdalled. You don't want to take the brain damage here. So you might have to click through. R&D still a little bit curious with 2 unres pieces of ice, but currently only 3 to get through. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's some surprises coming now that agenda is scored. Maybe now that ice can be rezzed. HQ actually is the easiest to get through right now.
That's right.
It's only going to cost a little bit off the Femme Fatale to break the sentry, and then that Enigma probably not going to be res because y'all gets right through it for free. So maybe you start going to the hand, but you know it's just a weird thing. You got to beware of snares as well.
Got to be wary of the snares, but in my mind, kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, the fact that it's so underdeveloped in terms of ice protecting it. I would kind of assume that it's not there. If I had an agenda in my hand, I would have put it behind 3, albeit 3 unres pieces of ice on that remote server, just so it's a little bit more protected, especially knowing that I have a wall of static there that he can't break through. So there's all kinds
inside
of
job, very interesting.
Yeah, I would not have played that here like this. It's surprising, but who knows? Who knows? So he is rezzing nothing more.
And no agenda.
No agenda. Which is a pity, because that was a cost equivalency for him there.
That inside job could have done a lot of things in a lot of places.
Yeah.
For that remote.
Yep.
Even HQ.
So, interesting play. Don't quite understand it, but hey, I'm not at the finals of the Netrunner tournament.
That's right.
So what do I know? So there's first Armitage coming out.
It's going to help with the economy a lot.
That's right. Big time. Now we can start clicking for 2. It's going to be great. So again, back over to HB. 2 free credits. What? He's up to 17. That's amazing.
Like I said, the door is really closing here. You can see that HB has grabbed the advantage back, I guess you could say gotten lucky that no agenda has been pulled from R&D.
Yep.
But that said, having 2 right off the bat is quite unlucky as well.
It's true.
So maybe it's balanced out a little bit here.
Yep. Oh man, 5th piece of ice. Forget about it. Please do not try to continue running on R&D. It is not going to happen anymore. Woo-wee. That is crazy.
I don't know. It's just...
Because he's at 16 credits, he could res another toll booth and a Heimdall all on that server. It's nuts.
It's just HB likely saying, there's nothing in my hand, so why bother with anything else?
Yeah.
If I do draw an agenda, it's going that remote, so the only way that he can score right now is to get through to R&D.
That's right. It is heavily protected, and wow, that's whenever I see 5 pieces of ice, I'm just like, what is going on?
What needs to happen here, I think, for Criminal is take your time, draw into your barrier breaker, get a couple counters on Data Sucker with maybe some HQ runs, some Sneak Door runs, or just straight up HQ runs. You don't have to rush here. Just take it easy, get your whole suite, and just get a ton of money, knowing that anything that he puts down in that remote you can get. And then maybe save an infiltration. We've seen an infiltration already to check. Is that an agenda? No, not going to run it. If it's yes, then you know that you can get through. You have the money. You have the breakers. There's no problem.
That's right. Got to be wary of those June bugs. So yeah, checking before you run is imperative here. But also, and this is the Shaper and me talking, he doesn't have a barrier breaker yet. And that is a liability, especially because he's seen a Heimdall out of HQ I don't know how many times now. And we know that there is a wall of static in play, which will just immediately terminate a run.
Just the old thud.
Yep. Just hit it. Man, it's like I just ran face first into a wall of static with no barrier breaker. What? So, again,
he does have corroders in there, too. I'm surprised we haven't seen a special order. He's in a bit of a, I guess, a weird situation here at the same time, though. Dropping a bank job, that's a good...
Excellent.
It's going to get a free economy on that pad campaign. One of the reasons you might not want to trash him, but at the same time...
I think that the net swing has been decisively in HB's favor thus far, and he's demonstrated that he can get through servers.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I would have trashed him.
Very, like I said, kind of an interesting situation. He's full up on Emu right now. So if he wants to play a barrier breaker, he's going to have to trash something. You don't really want to trash Data Sucker at this point. Sneak Door has probably done its job. You assume you've gotten a Heimdall, a big piece of ice over there on your archives. You can probably trash it for your barrier breaker, but I think, you know, criminals are always quite fond of their Sneak Doors, and knowing that he only has one in his deck, this is an avenue of HQ attack that maybe he can't quite get rid of yet. So can he even play the barrier breaker is the question.
That's a good point. Very good point. But instead he does some work for old Armitage and gets some money for it. And meantime, HB's bank account continues to swell. It's amazing. And there
it is
a card down on that remote. Is it an agenda? We simply do not know, and it's developed twice right off the bat. So immediately, as the runner, your attention goes there.
That's a big deal right here.
Should it?
That's a big deal.
That's the question.
The problem is it's such a perfect trap, but it's also such a perfect agenda because you think it's such a perfect trap.
Right.
So right now, you've got to have the barrier breaker. You've got to have the barrier breaker to get through Heimdalls and Walls of Static, and I think you've got to go down there and check. I mean, if a June Bug takes away 4 of your cards, that's fine. You can't allow this thing to res.
He's not running aggressive secretary, is he?
He is. He has one or two in there, yeah.
That would also be pretty bad right now.
That would be nasty.
Yep.
It'd be very nasty. In fact, that's the problem right now, is I had forgotten about aggressive secretary, actually. That's the problem. Man.
Because that would be as if not more devastating than the June Bug.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you lose that Femme Fatale, it's over.
It's not good. Gonna gain some credits.
And he's going to think about it long and hard, as you should, because it's the classic Netrunner predicament here. It's like, is it a trap or isn't it? Can I afford to take the risk or can't I? Especially, again, Shaper talking here, without my barrier breaker in play.
There's some interesting tactics you could employ here. One is just making the run on it and then jacking out before you access the asset, and just see, like, is he rezzing all the ice? You know, is he actually trying to keep me out of the server, or is he kind of letting me through?
Nice.
And if you feel like the corporation is just letting you through, maybe not rezzing all the ice, or kind of picking and choosing what's being rezzed, then probably wants you to hit that trap. Because if it's a trap, you know, rezzing a wall of static just to stop you out of it is probably not going to happen.
Right.
So if he does res that wall of static, you have to assume that that is indeed an agenda.
And then also at the same time, because the criminal has so many credits, you have to, as the corp, keep an eye on how many clicks they have left. Because if you make kind of a token attempt just to keep them out of that server by rezzing your wall of static, they still have more clicks left to, say, go down another avenue of, say, R&D again if you don't have the money to res the ice there, or who knows what.
Or even to just take an action to install a barrier breaker and then run again.
Yeah, totally. So it's worth looking at, and all these things in whatever order is just as important as the actual actions being taken.
All right, and it looks like a Heimdall coming up on archives, so we were correct in our assumption. Interesting going to HQ here after something's been played down. Could be that he's hiding an agenda in his hand and is putting the trap down, but this is the last thing that criminal wanted here. You're gonna have to spend a click to break through it, or gonna have to take some brain damage.
That's right. So it looks like
he's probably just gonna spend the click.
Yeah.
Again, no barrier breaker causing a huge amount of issues.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty late in the game to not have one, but the problems that brings up are apparent now. So we'll see if that changes his order of play, if he starts trying to draw into a special order or just trying to play that barrier breaker down.
Still having the stim hack in reserve is about the only thing we haven't seen, and the parasites, which actually would have a big impact on this game.
Yeah, huge.
Corroder and Ninja both, I think, would be welcome additions to this rig. Although you can't trash Fim for Ninja, so at this point it is what it is.
It's true, but
so we're running R&D.
Here it comes.
Getting 8 credits out of the pool, and maybe gonna rest some ice finally.
Let's see what happens. Is there another
one for an
toll
ice
booth?
wall? That's what we want right there.
There you go. Boom. It's over.
The day the barrier breaker absence became an issue.
Yes. This turn, it was immediately apparent. So now, if I were the runner, I would be like, well, I have to find a barrier breaker ASAP, because this is clearly a problem.
If you wouldn't have been like that earlier.
Yeah.
You know? Now that's curious, because that ice wall was there for a while.
And he wasn't resing it.
And he wasn't resing it. There were so many chances taken
It's
there
true.
where he could have stopped the R&D
He
run.
was just letting it happen. That's a lot of risk taken.
That's a lot of risk.
Yep.
A lot of risk.
It really is. But now he's on sure footing because the risk is seemingly at an end. Because guess who doesn't have a barrier breaker?
And let's see if he actually goes through with that agenda.
Would-be agenda.
Would be. Correct. Correct. I've got to think, no, that looks an awful lot like a trap now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an agenda anymore.
He didn't quickly advance it.
Correct.
You know.
Especially if it's a priority wreck or something like that, you advance that just
giddily.
Real fast. Yeah, it's like, woo, I just made all kinds of money because I got a free res out of it.
And you get a free archer?
That's right.
It's like you kidding?
A free archer. What? And you know you got to do that. You know you got to. It's crazy. Get another 3 points and spare yourself another 2. Lost?
It looks like HP just got 3 credits there. So he's just going to credit up.
That is interesting.
Interesting indeed. So good play not running the remote.
Yes.
The psychology was strong there.
Trap averted. And that, if you can develop that kind of trap sense, it is probably the greatest asset a runner can have in this game.
It's one of those weird back and forth things because for the new to kind of mid-level, I would think, player, the traps go down when you expect them to go down. If,
yeah.
You know, if you've seen the game enough and it's like, oh, this would be a really devastating trap for me right now, that's probably what it is.
Yep.
But then when you hit the next level where it's like, that would be a really devastating trap for me right now, so I'm going to put an agenda instead.
Yep.
Because the runner's obviously going to think it's a trap. That's when, you know, it's classic. Classic.
It is classic indeed. So now as the runner, again, we were talking about this when it was HB's turn, but is he going to do everything he can to get that barrier breaker in play, which I think is the smart move.
Answer is yes.
Yes.
And he's going to have to trash the sneak door to do it, and he's just going to have to deal with that.
Yep. So how many cards do you draw? He's got 1 click left. What's going to be?
Another one.
Do I have one?
Do I have the barrier? Yes. Then play it. No. Then draw.
But man, that is just such a luxury for the court player right now because he gets to watch as the runner scrambles to get this important tool into play. Meantime, I'm going to develop my field, get more ice into play, get more credits. It really offsets the tempo in the game. So bam, last one for a draw, 2 free creds.
And trashing across space.
So when will that would be, or now probably, trap be trashed? Because you're not drawing extra cards when you have an agenda to score.
Unless
you are just that kind of player.
Yeah, and I mean, you have basically a completely safe agenda now.
Yeah.
But runner is not going to run that remote.
But he could get a barrier breaker or his last piece to feel comfortable anytime next turn. Whoa, 4th piece of ice. That remote just got serious officially.
Yeah, it's officially serious. That's so it's so funny. Like if that is an agenda down there, and he doesn't advance it immediately, the runner thinks it's a trap and is never going to run it.
Will never think to run it. Yeah.
It's a completely safe agenda. You don't have to worry about it being scored. It's not in your hand. It's not in your deck. And you can score it at your leisure.
These are the games we play.
Especially maybe you're waiting to draw into another agenda. You can score it and then put the other one down.
It's such a beautiful psychology to this game. It always impresses.
Absolutely. So trash is an enigma. Wasn't a surprise, but then quickly flipped it down.
It was a face up. No, wait, it's face down. You didn't see that. Whoops.
And actually, against Criminal with Sneak Door, Archives is an excellent place to hide agendas because the only like they're always wanting to run for your hand.
That's right.
It's like I'm going to Sneak Door, and I've got 6
it's a
points
means
in
to
my
getting
Archives.
into your hand. Yeah, it's crazy. So
It's
he
kind of a
drew,
barrier.
and now what? Is he going to keep drawing to find that barrier? Yep. Let's see it. Will he see it?
He's got Special Order in there. He's already used 2, I believe.
Yes, I believe you're correct. Certainly 1. I recall that much for certain. For certain.
Hopefully sitting on some inside jobs, although we did see that one earlier. Hopefully sitting on a stim hack. Got the tools to make that final run. It's going to come down to it, I think.
It will.
And having suffered that June bug in the earlier game.
No, that's a lesson well learned.
There's a lot of psychology going on there.
There is. And another thing to keep in mind is while the runner is kind of frantically looking for this barrier breaker, the Corp is no longer at the credit advantage. So, yes, there are 4 pieces of ice on that remote server, but how many of them can he really afford to res? And if he does res them, how strong will they even be? Because an ice wall, yes, it's cheap, but it's really weak.
Yeah.
So it's a relatively safe server up until when you finally get, that barrier breaker.
Another bank job.
Bank job.
That's a very curious play for me. I guess probably just wanting to get a card out of his hand so he doesn't have to discard as many. But at the same time,
you're not worried about credits.
If you don't need credits,
yep,
then you should get what you need.
Yeah, I agree.
At the same time, though, again, maybe if he had every card in his hand he liked, and it was just a matter of I'd rather just use the bank job than discard it at the end of this turn.
Yep. That is a good assessment, methinks. So now, back to HB. What's he doing?
It was
of
a
course.
trap indeed.
Trap indeed.
Unless it's still an agenda, and then it's just the wiliest play you've ever seen.
Oh, man. You know it. I know it. We all knew it. But, man, if that is an agenda.
Interesting thing now, though, is we're set up perfectly for, and it looks like that was a June bug. I think we kind of used some inside info to know that that's what that was from later on. Knowing that he has biotic labor and so much money, he can play out an accelerated beta test, biotic labor, and then score it immediately.
Totally.
So that's going to cause... he could just wait for that at this point.
It's true.
As long as the R&D isn't getting hit, as long as he doesn't have any agendas in hand, he can just wait for that.
It's very true. Very accurate.
Put a card down and chose to take credits rather than an advance, so maybe an upgrade, maybe, what is that?
At this point, you are just kind of left to your own devices to try to assume one way or the other what cards are being played, because that it really kind of degenerates into a foil between do I have the resources to make the run successfully, and then after that do you consider is he aware of that? Probably is. Would he play that kind of a card there, assuming that he knows that I can get to it? So it's weird. It's totally weird.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Totally weird.
As we might expect from this group, these 2 players. Excellent.
Yep. So, drawing back up. I'm assuming he's
There's
still...
the corroder. I saw it in his hand.
Okay, great. He's finally got it. So now, what do I trash? Now, your money's on the sneak door.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree.
We could also go Fim here, but then you throw out your Sentry Breaker.
That's right.
You don't want that. Sneak Door is just taking up too much.
Yeah, he's going sneak door. He touched it. He touched it.
Double considering. At the same time, the Data Sucker is not a bad trash here. Your access to centrals is pretty weak, and Data Sucker at this point, maybe you're waiting for parasites, but it's just really a plus 2 credits right now.
But even so, I'd rather run directly at his HQ right now, because Heimdall is a much bigger problem than that Ichi.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anywho, there it is. All 3 breakers in play.
Let's check out what that is.
What is it? It's a June bug.
Is that his June bug?
No. What? I think it looks like it.
Look either June bug or experiential data.
Okay.
So it could be an upgrade or a June bug. Interesting use.
No, it was data. Okay, never mind.
All ice plus 1 strength. I don't agree with that infiltration.
Would you say wait until there are advancements or developments on it before you?
Yeah. What criminal's worried about here is that it's a beta test.
Right.
That he's going to put it down and then score it next turn. I think you save the infiltration and you allow that beta test to be scored.
Mm-hmm.
If he triggers it, then you can get a run on archives and take a look. Run an R&D and oh man, toll booth right up top.
Ouch. That'll cost you.
Can't break it.
3 credits to be exact.
I guess he can with Data Sucker if he wants.
It's true.
This is going to be a very expensive run.
Yep.
Very expensive run.
1 for that. 2 for Roto.
2 more for the Roto turret.
But will we see a second res? Nope.
And
what's it going to be? Boom.
Up high. Don't win the game. Okay. Hey, look at it again.
Yep. Study it. Study it out.
Not as bad, actually, as I was thinking. Be sure to get a Data Sucker token.
Yeah. The fact that he can just hop over that second toll booth is really what makes it reasonable. And again, all those the Ice Wall and the Roto, they're low strength, so it's real easy to break through them, and they don't have a lot of subroutines.
I was saying, I think the infiltration on that remote there is a little bit weak. You can wait. You can really wait until there's something with counters on it, because that's what you really have to worry about. At this point, I mean, I'd almost consider, instead of infiltrating, just run that remote.
Yeah, totally.
You've got all your breakers. You can get through and see what it is. Save the infiltration for something that could be a trap.
I agree. But he just spent 4 credits to put down a 5th piece of ice on that remote. There's no agenda even on it yet, or even a trap for that matter. So this is a super serious server, but there's nothing resed on it. So that to me is kind of curious, because you're spending all these extra credits to reinforce a server that isn't even developed yet. So I'm kind of scratching my head there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's basically trying to set up an impenetrable fortress where he can score out these last 2 agendas to win the game. Probably, I mean, it's reasonable. I don't know. You don't really go anymore on R&D at this point. It's just the credits are too weird. Archive doesn't matter. HQ is an interesting spot.
I agree.
Now, as long as he doesn't ever draw more than the 1 card he has to per turn, he's never going to have an agenda in his hand.
Right.
Because he can just draw it and then immediately play it on that remote. So the remote and R&D are the only 2 servers that matter here. So it's a matter of which one do you want to keep buffing up. I think getting a strong remote is probably a decent option, especially as the criminal just gains more and more money. They're just going to be able to break through more and more of your ice.
That's right. And again, worth noting that virtually all, probably 80% of the economy in this game for HB has come from those pad campaigns. It's insane. He's clicked maybe, I don't know, 4 to 6 times for credits, but it's incredible to think about where this game would be if those pad campaigns had been trashed early.
It's a good question.
It's a good question. It's a good question. But meantime, now you have to start wondering about what's going on. Because, again, just as you can play the brain game in building up servers or putting down traps, you can now wonder what's in his hand. Is he building
HQ,
up that remote as a bluff?
And he's also going to be probably lobbying for this Data Sucker virus counter.
Yep.
Which is going to allow him to make yet another run on R&D.
100%, man.
And he's going to get a couple credits. This is not a... This is a very weak server that's being exploited here.
Yeah. How much do you put stock in the thought that you should develop servers proportionately?
I think what HB has done here is correct.
Uh-huh.
Put your resources where they matter most. Even though maybe later on in the game you wish you had iced more,
Yeah.
but there's a reason that you put ice on R&D instead of HQ. You didn't have any agendas, and he was drawing them off the top, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So here we go. What's going on? Run declared. Is there any resin going on? Is he thinking about it?
And this could be just a total bluff. We know it's an Enigma there.
Uh-huh.
And it hasn't been rezzed all game. Maybe he's looking at his hand saying, "Oh man, if I have an agenda, I should, make it look like I'm debating on this piece of ice. Maybe I'll pull it up, maybe I won't, depending on how the odds are." But I don't think he's really fooling anyone here.
Not fooling nobody. Not this runner. Not this day. But meantime, I'm still waiting to see the result.
Maybe it didn't happen?
Maybe not. Did he take some
Or,
action?
okay, there we go.
Okay.
Get into the Ichi. He's going to break it with clicks. Looks like.
Oh, okay. Figuring out that Ichi. All right. Boom. What?
And the
Ready?
trace one, which he evaded. No credits were added.
Dodge.
And it's a victor.
Hello, Victor.
Gain 2. And I think he's probably going to go right back to R&D here.
I would assume that's what I would do. Ready to go with that extra data sucker token. It's time to run. And that's where he's had his success this game. Is in R&D.
Yep.
So stick with what you know. What works for you.
And he says, all right,
Ginsu
chop it up.
Let's have it. All right, so pay my 3. Break.
Break the ice wall. Pay 2 to break the roto turret. Yep, that's still down there. What is it?
Is that an Enigma?
I think it's Victor.
Victor?
I think it's a Victor, and Yogg just gets right through it.
Boom. What is it?
It's not it. Oh, it is
It is it.
That's the game.
Boom.
All right.
A priority.
So congrats. Excellent play yet again. Thanks so much for watching, guys. That was an intense game.
Yeah.
Kept on fishing there on R&D and finally paid off yet again. So that's the way it should be. Welcome to Netrunner. If you've not played, you should. The game is excellent. Here's the final list if you guys want to see what they were running. These are the decks they were running during these all 3 of these Worlds games. Congrats to both players. This is a fantastic showing and a great introduction, and also just a learning experience for Netrunner players all over the world. You guys did an excellent job, and thank you, Fantasy Flight, and for players also for letting us film these games and comment on them and get them up there for the world to see. So if you like what we're doing here, teamcovenant.com, you can support us, post a blog, talk about Netrunner, have a good time over there, or buy something from our store. We've got data pack subscriptions, which are really convenient for those of you who just want to have the data pack arrive on your doorstep whenever it comes out.
And we also have identity packs and singles from the core box, and it's just a wonderful world of Netrunner on our store.
And all that money goes right back into more games like this.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.
See ya.
That's true. Just save a credit. You could do that. That's when we played for 2 weeks.
I'm also surprised you didn't trash those pad campaigns after a couple thirds.
I wasn't
you
had the money.
First, but I had 5 points. I just need 1 more and then win. So
Right, just like, I'll just get it.
Let's go for it.